So here's a story called The Lorax by Dr. Suess. It was a story that really touched me as a child growing up in a factory town in southeast Michigan. And it goes like this. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could, until somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, and makes his own clothes out of mist-lumbered moof. And on certain dank midnights in August, he peeks out of his shutters. Sometimes he speaks, tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail in the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he lifts up the pail, makes the most careful count, see that you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snug, his secret strange hole in his grovulous glove. Then he grunts, "I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone." Slup! Down slups the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear. So they have to come down to a snurgily hose. It sounds like he had smallish bees up his nose. "Now I'll tell you," he says with his teeth sounding gray, "how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swami swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits while they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the hummingfish humming while splashing around. But those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a sneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I chopped down. He was sort of a man. Describe him? And that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy and spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. "Mister!" he cried with a sawdusty sneeze. "I'm the Lorax! I speak for the trees! I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs." He was very upset as he shouted and huffed. "What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft?" "Look, Lorax," I said, "there's no cause for alarm. I've chopped just one tree, I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a sneed. A sneed's to find something that everyone needs. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets or pillows or sheets or curtains or covers for bicycle seats." But the Lorax said, "Sir, you're crazy with greed. There's no one on earth who would buy that fool sneed." The very next minute I proved he was wrong, for at that very moment a chap came along. Thought the sneed I knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Shut up if you please." Then I raced across the room and in no time at all, built a radio phone. I placed a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Wensler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Niche. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. Then in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Wensler family was working full tilt. We were all making sneeze just as busy as bees. The sound of the chopping of truffle trees. Then oh baby oh, how my business did grow. Soon chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffle trees with one smacker. Now we're all making sneeze 4 times as fast as before. And that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the very next week, he knocked on my new office door. I'm the Lorax, he cried. I speak for the trees, but you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloons, who played in the shade in their barbaloon suits and happily lived, eating truffle fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle fruits to go around. My poor barbaloons are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Wensler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads, the sneeze I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I kept right on biggering, selling more needs. And I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax! He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled, he sniffed. Wensler! He cried with a crofulous croak. Wensler, you're making such smogulous smoke to my poor swami swans, why, I can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, choked the Lorax, please pardon my cough, but they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. I may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you smogged up around here. And what's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop making gluppity-glup. Also schwappity-schlap. And what do you do with this leftover goo? Well, I'll show you, you dirty old Wensler man, you. You're clumping the pond where the humming fish hum. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gum. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future looks dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled to Lorax, said, listen here, Dad, all you do is yap, yap, and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I tend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffle trees into needs, which everyone needs. Then at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From out in the fields came the sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall. The very last truffle tree of them all. No more trees, no more sneeze, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye, jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. And all that was left here in this mess was my big empty factory, Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. He gave me a very sad, backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of the pants and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog. And all he left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. But that was long, long ago. And each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, my factory has fallen apart. I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Wensler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax is perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Things aren't gonna get better, they're not. And you have to remember to this very day, axes still hack the old forests away. For the Lorax and all of his friends to survive, somehow these wild places must be kept alive. You have to protect the last that remain. The giant oak grundle trees that live in the rain, and the twisty frumplers in their pale desert green. But truffula trees, they're no more to be seen. So, catch, cries the onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water. Feed it fresh air. Plant a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back.
Wow, that's quite a moving piece. I think all of us feel like the Lorax a little bit. You're living in a beautiful place here. This is a great spot. We want to thank Zealand for being the hospitable host for the poet of poets, the man with the most. And if ever you go across this nation with pride, you will know that we all really love you inside. So remember, 'tis you who stand tall with our future. To life and the Lorax. Aloha.
Aloha.